Well, I promised to do an episode about Civil War, the coming Civil War, because everybody knows something is coming. However, I'm about a week late with it because I've been clearing a bunch of timber. The other day, maybe a week and a half ago, I burned off a lot of the scrap and wound up inhaling poison ivy smoke, and my voice has just been gone. Now I seem to be healthy and ready again, so welcome back to another episode of What They Don't Say, the YouTube channel dedicated to things that we're all thinking about and nobody talks about. That's the reason we named this What They Don't Say. We say it. Here we go. We're going to talk about this because I've been going nuts wanting to do this episode because I'm seeing the craziest stuff about a civil war in America. It seems like a lot of people think it would be like the original Civil War. And I don't know how else to explain it except these people are crazy. It wouldn't be anything like that. Have you seen the maps going around in social media? They're showing all the red states and all the little tiny blue states, and they're saying, yeah, go ahead, bring it on. We got this. Oh, this is going to be easy. Well, hell no, it's not going to be easy. Yes, something is going to happen. Right now, there's different phases that you go through on the way to a civil war. You know, you start out with a lot of discontent. We've been through that. And then you start getting a few riots here and there. All right, we've had that. You get criminal acts, increasing criminal acts. We've certainly seen that. All right, and then it becomes random acts of violence. We've seen an awful lot of that. Really bad stuff. I mean, some of the stuff these people are doing is just crazy. One of the problems that really escapes a lot of conservatives is these no king protests and that type of thing. Because they look at it and their media tells them, oh, this is Republican or Democrat. They're stupid. We're smart. There aren't many of them. Look, they're all gray hair. It's just dumb to think that way. It's just dumb. You've got to realize that these people are nuts. Of course, they've got useful idiots in the crowd. They thrive on useful idiots, but they use these events as recruiting rallies so they can find the nuts. There are nuts within that crowd looking for other nuts. And if you think, like I hear so many conservatives saying, if you think that a lefty can't be dangerous, you think that they're all just a bunch of pink pussy hat wearing nobodies, they're all weak, they're all stupid, this is going to be easy, they don't dare to have a civil war. Well, don't give me that crap, because as much as I hear the braggadocio stuff about, oh, they don't dare mess with us, they already have. Anyone who thinks that these people aren't dangerous is just shallow. I hear people saying it. There aren't that many. They're weak. They're crazy. These shallow people have no idea. If you have friends like that, if you have family members saying stupid things like that, try to wake them up. I have friends who have already forgotten the violence that's already occurred. Do not forget, yes, the lefties are crazy, but the crazy people, the bad guys, always start out winning civil wars. We're going to get into that in a little bit in detail here in a minute, but you got to think. Don't tell me that conservatives are just going to shut down a civil war the minute it starts, because no one knows when they start. One day you look around and you think, damn, this is a civil war. We aren't there yet. We're going through the different stages, but we haven't got into the terrorism stage of it yet. Not the large scale terrorism. We've had targeted bombings like with the Tesla stuff, things like that, but we haven't got into the general terrorism. If you want to see that kind of thing in a civil war, look at Northern Ireland and what they've gone through. That is where you start to get into it. Look at the 9/11 plane thing. Okay, when you have large mass casualty events of random targets, that's when you know that you are in civil war. When you've got the other political side doing attacks like that frequently from place to place, that's what a new civil war will be. Like I say, I've got friends saying, oh, they're nothing. We'll just wipe them out. Really? They're nothing? I don't really know what these people are thinking. Do they think when the Civil War starts that we're all going to be lined up on the field of battle somewhere? They're going to be on one side, we're going to be on the other. All we got to do is outshoot them. You just go outside and line up the old rifle across the top of the picnic table and pick off bad guys till you get tired of it. Then go home and say, that's it. We won the Civil War. We all got our guys. This is over. No, this will be largely guerrilla warfare. It will be sneak attacks. It will be bombings. There won't be anybody there at the time it happens, even in a lot of cases. Don't forget, we've got drones now. A lot of people know how to rig them. This is not what you think. We aren't going to just line up and shoot each other. It's not going to be as simple as these people are trying to make it look because they're not thinking about it. This will be guerrilla warfare, and you're not going to know who's doing a lot of it. You're not even going to know who needs to be shot. So forget saying that, oh, we've got all the guns, we'll wipe them out. You don't even know who to go after. Let's not forget, they're the people who burned up and shot up Tesla dealerships. I didn't see any conservatives out there stopping them because you don't know they're going to do it. You don't know it, you don't hear about it till it's over. So how much good does all the bragging do when you aren't there for the attack, okay? And then the attackers just drift away. They've been catching them so far, but only because there's only a couple of them and they've been pretty stupid about it. Doesn't matter if you can catch them once the act is done. Don't forget, not only did they burn up and shoot up some Tesla dealerships, for all the people that think that the left doesn't have guns, they do. They're the people that shot Trump once and almost got him a second time. Let's not forget that one of those crazy, weak, stupid lefties, like the conservatives call them, don't forget one of them just murdered Charlie Kirk. Now you're taking it serious? They're the ones who have beaten and shot several ICE agents. They're the ones who did the armed raid on a Texas ICE facility. There's 19 people involved in that. It was a terrorist crew. If you think they aren't dangerous, why has Trump decided that the National Guard needs to go in to protect the cities, help protect federal property and the lives of the officers on the ground? Do you think Trump was wrong for doing that? Do you think Trump should think that they're all just weak and stupid and they aren't dangerous and we can just wipe them out? If you've got friends who are thinking and talking that way, friends and relatives, talk some sense into them, because being crazy, which they are, it makes the lefty kooks dangerous. And they've got leadership stirring them up. So all this nonsense about bring it, they'll lose. Yeah, that sounds real good in social media, doesn't it? How many have those people gone out and shot, huh? How many have they stopped? You got to realize the bad guys always start out winning in a civil war. They always do. Because they are ready first. They create the first actions. In our first Civil War, our big Civil War that everyone knows about in 1860, okay? They won all of the first battles because the hostility and aggression was on their side. Right now, conservatives are not hostile. They are not aggressive. They don't go looking for trouble. When you're in a civil war, you're looking for trouble for your side. It's not just defensive action. If you don't do anything but defensive action, you lose civil wars. I know guys that are talking tough and they've got a closet full of guns and they're saying, bring it, bring it. But then you hear they get injured, okay? They need a couple stitches, they run to the doctor. They get a broken finger, they run to a friggin' doctor. What will it be like when they take a bullet through the kneecap? What will it be like when they start seeing people around them wounded? People that they love and care about. You know, it's always the innocent people that are damaged first in any civil war. It's the weak and vulnerable. It's the elderly. It's the young. It's the infirm. It's the sick people. Through the loss of things like supply chain, availability, It's easy to talk tough when you don't have to be tough. In our Civil War, the very first bombardment at Fort Sumter, they won that. First battle of Bull Run on the ground. Everyone thought one battle and it'd be over. Manassas, they call it in the South. First battle of Bull Run, they won it. Chancellorsville was huge, 17,000 dead in one day. They won it. We had a second battle of Bull Run. They won that. Huge battle. I believe it was over 100,000 soldiers taking part at Fredericksburg. They won it. They won Wilson's Creek in the Western Theater. Gaines Mill. Chickamauga was a huge battle, lasted a couple days. They won it. The bad guys always start out winning because the good guys don't take it seriously and don't put their all into it because the good guys are not hostile and aggressive. Good people don't go out looking for bad people to shoot. But the bad guys, we've already seen it right now. The bad guys we've got are willing to commit acts of violence. You've seen these people on camera. They're screaming. They're spitting when they scream. Their eyes are bugging out. The veins in their neck are sticking out. These people are going full goose bozo on this stuff because it is their passion. They think that we really are a dangerous force threatening them and the country, and we must be stopped or the whole world's coming to an end as we know it. They believe that. That makes them dangerous because they are willing to act on it. Conservatives just don't think that way. They don't realize what we're really up against here. Have you ever heard the old saying, you got to send a crook to catch a crook? You know why they have that saying? It's because good guys don't think like bad guys. So the good guys can't do as well putting themselves inside the head of the bad guys that they're trying to catch, right? You need someone that's got a little bit of that bad guy experience. Well, I'll tell you right now, we're in that position because the conservatives just don't see inside the minds of the people who are that crazy. They think it's just humorous stuff to watch on TV. Oh, look at them in their little inflatable rabbit suit. Look, it's an inflatable banana. It's going to stop MAGA. Okay, that's the shit that you're supposed to see. Don't you understand the theatrics of using the stupid people? That's what they're doing. Yeah, they've got them up front, and they can't stop that because they're recruiting from the nutcase side. But these people are dangerous because among them, the ones you don't see, the ones with the mask on that are just walking around angry, those are the ones that are building a bomb at home. They're the ones that are stashing ammo, waiting for a chance to go into a school or an office meeting or the local grocery store. You don't realize what it's really like in a civil war because we haven't had one. We've had such a blessing of peace for so long in this country. Even though we had 2 world wars, almost none of it was here. America has escaped war on our ground since the Civil War. We're talking 160 years, my friends, and people have just forgotten what it's like. I hear conservatives saying, look at the red states versus the blue states. Come on, we're bigger, we're better, there's more of it. It's not going to be red states versus blue states. This isn't secession with states, a cluster of states moving away. This is all scattered. This is house to house. The first Civil War was called the War of Brothers, brother against brother, and there was a lot of that. The uncles, the brothers, the women, they would never talk to each other again. It completely broke up families. People complain now because their families are splitting up. They can't have Thanksgiving together anymore. You got crazy Aunt Shirley that's out with the Hands Off America, anti-MAGA, No Kings protest signs, and just pouring her heart out in the crowds, just convinced that you're all crazy. You got the conservatives that are just dyed in the wool, and they'll throw their family away for it too. I mean, look, it's not just one side that makes mistakes. We're all prone to it. But we've got families falling apart. We've got co-workers that can't talk to each other. People have lost their jobs because they were too conservative or too liberal. This is building, my friends. And there's no good way out of it. There is no turning it back, and there is no on and off button for a civil war. Like I say, things keep getting worse. They escalate quickly. And all of a sudden, people look around and say, I'm in a civil war. Damn. But you got to remember how the civil wars actually work. We know that we had about 600,000 casualties in the first one. We had people on farms that got hit by raiders. They never got counted. There was raiding parties that would go through cities. There was neighbors that didn't trust their neighbor because they thought they were a Johnny Reb, or they thought that they were a unionist. They thought they were anti-slavery, whatever. Neighbors were shooting neighbors. Those don't get counted in the casualty reports. We don't know how much of that there was, but we know there was a lot of it. People were ambushing neighbors. That's what happens. Now, you tell me how the conservatives are going to win that real easy. I've got a friend who lives on an acreage pretty close to a town, about a mile and a half outside of a town. He's got a bunch of chickens. He's got a house full of guns, and he told me, I'm not worried about it. I got about 15,000 rounds of 223s. I got a stack of guns. Let them come. I got my chickens. I don't even need anything. Got a basement full of food. It's like, oh, really? So, you've got woods on two sides of your house. You got a big grass field across the road. Now, when are you going to go take care of these chickens? In the middle of the night? You know, they got night scopes. You're going to have a light. You know how easy it is to pick somebody off like that? People are not thinking it through. You could have a crazy neighbor down the street and you don't know until the bullets fly. You don't know who they're going to shoot. They will burn houses down. They did that in the Civil War. They didn't even wake the people up. They just go by and light their house because they thought they sympathized with the other side. That is what a civil war is like. That is what a neighborhood will be like if we go into a full-blown civil war. You can't send an army out after that. The government is helpless in a lot of those cases. They couldn't do anything. It got so bad during the actual Civil War. There was an area of Missouri, a border area on the west side of Missouri. It was 5 counties. They called it the Burn District. It got so bad with people being burned out, people being murdered on the way to the store, people getting burned out of their homes in the middle of the night, having everything stolen. It got so bad that the general in charge of the region had to issue an order. Everybody out. I don't give a damn anymore. I'm sick of it. I don't care which side you're on. Get out of these 5 counties. What do you do when you can't live in your town anymore? What do you do when your town's water supply gets poisoned? When they blow up a substation? You don't realize how vulnerable America is because civilization depends on the people being willing to act civilized. You got to conduct yourself as civilized. We already know these bad guys aren't doing it. Good guys don't start civil wars. They don't go into them quickly. It's like George Washington said, patriotism alone is not enough to inspire action from the masses. At first, the pain must become personal. There you go. That's the key right there. It's got to become personal. I don't know a conservative that if all the terrorism stuff were to really pick up, I don't know a single conservative that would hide out in the driveway and shoot their lefty neighbor in the middle of the night. But you know, there's lefties that will do that. Conservatives don't do that. They're good, decent people. Good, decent people are not aggressive. They're not hostile. That is why the bad guys always start out winning in civil wars. You've got to push good people to the point where they throw down the tools, they take off the work gloves, and they get busy and take care of business. We don't want to go there, but we're living in a powder keg right now. Powder kegs draw sparks. Hey, I'd like to remind you right now, I don't know if you're familiar with us, if you're new to us, but I'd appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe. We're a new channel. Moved everything over here from our old formats. This is just what we're focusing on because this is a lot of work. It really is. Anyway, appreciate you being here. If you want to help us grow, please hit like, subscribe, and most of all, the comments are really important too. Give us your feedback. You got to remember this division that's going on in America is not just America. It's the same thing happening throughout Western civilization. It's in Ireland, it's in the UK, it's in Europe, and it's in Australia. All the same forces. All the teachers' unions partnered with the labor unions here and there. And they work together. Ours work with theirs work with ours. They coordinate activity and plans. They have Antifa in Europe now. They have it in Australia. That started out, what, Portland? Seattle? That was homegrown here. Now you try to identify who Antifa is. If you go into a grocery store, you're not going to spot Antifa. And don't tell me, oh, they're the ones with the colored hair and the nose ring. All right, that if you want to be stupid, go ahead and think like that. But a lot of these people just blend in and look like everybody else. They look like your coworkers. They look like the guy that you pass every day at work. You don't know what these people are like inside their heads, inside their minds, inside their homes, inside their personal conversations with their friends. A civil war will not be armies in the field facing each other. It won't be the red states taking out the blue states, because there are good people. There are good patriotic people, even in Portland, even in Chicago. We've got good people there. They don't lose those elections by 99%. They lose them 60-40. That means you've got 40% of the people there are good. When the trouble starts, those people are the targets of the bad guys. You've got to understand, when this stuff starts, it's going to be conservative-leaning people, conservative-leaning media. They are the ones that will be the targets. No, we're not going to erupt and everyone's going to say, hey, that's it. Last night at 9:03, we entered a civil war. No, that's not what happens. It's just, first there's an attack in Dayton, Ohio at a mall. There's a Republican office blown up. There's a restaurant with a GOP meeting going on, or a Patriot meeting, or maybe a certain kind of church. Call it Jewish or some kind of Christian thing, because you know they hate Christians. Bombs go off. It's just like Northern Ireland. That's what happened. It went on for years over there. Many, many years. And it was a civil war. But there was no army. There was no uniforms. You couldn't identify these guys. They had to do investigations. But they're a small country, and it was a small section of that country. It's like everyone said with our first Civil War, it was so terrifying, foreign countries didn't even want to get involved on the ground, because America is so big and there's so many people, you can't tell what the hell is what in the neighborhoods. They stayed out. They did not want to set foot in here. But that's another problem we're going to have. It's because when this shit starts, and it will, because they've got to make America ungovernable under Trump. Trump is reversing too much of their work that they have worked long and hard for. They're sincere about trying to accomplish their goals of getting rid of the Constitution, replacing it with a system they feel better with. They say they support our Constitution, but they want to take it apart. They want to redo it because it was written by a bunch of old white guys 250 years ago, slave-owning bastards. Yeah, they say they love it, but they want to destroy it. They want to replace it with something else. We don't have enough socialism. They say that openly. Look at New York is about ready to elect a socialist Muslim. That's another thing. When a civil war of any type starts here, whether it's a lot of random terrorism, you aren't going to know who's doing a lot of this stuff. You might hear that your courthouse got blown up overnight. Okay, who the hell did it? Was it the Muslims? Because don't think that they won't take advantage of the situation to start some acts of their own. The lefty, Democrat type, nutcase socialist politicians and their minions and their media, they're going to have a lot of support from outside terrorists that are already here in sleeper cells. Some of that will be the cartel boys. Some of it will be the angry Hispanics that still haven't been popped and thrown out. And the Islamic people, who we know are already here, they're taking over major cities. You think that they won't act? You better have another thought. You better tell your friends that think it's just a big joke. Oh, conservatives will wipe them out. This is nothing. I got 85 guns in my closet. Yeah, have you ever tried to leave your house and vacate your town with 85 guns? What are you going to carry? Food? Or your guns? 85 guns. I actually heard that said. I got 85 guns. It's like, oh, really? And you got to sleep sometime, don't you? It's just absurd. These people are not thinking right. Your home doesn't remain safe if there's a real civil war. There's no safety guaranteed anywhere. You're not safe going to work. On the way, you might not be safe when you're there if it becomes a bombing target. Grocery stores, popular targets in that kind of war. The supply chain, that's what they do. Communication, they will take out radio towers, they will take out TV stations. That's what a real civil war is today, and you don't know who did it. And here's something else. Since the media is so biased on both sides, I'll guarantee you that there will be things that will be committed by the left against what looks like left targets, so the media can say, look what the conservatives just did. They just blew up that library. They had gay story time, and the conservatives blew it up. Who's going to know any different? They already do stuff like this. It is going to be so confusing. Because of media and the way it's all reported, they're going to gin up their people, fire them up, convince them that we're doing all this that nobody on the MAGA side had anything to do with. But they can make it look that way. That is what useful idiots are for. If you don't believe me, then why do the bad guys always rush to get useful idiots? Because they're useful. The idiot part is secondary. But don't think that they don't have guns. A lot of them have been in the service. I knew a lot of people in a lot of union plants. I used to do consulting and other different types of work in factories all over the country. I knew a lot of Democrat union members that hunted. They went shooting. They had guns. A lot of them are veterans too. We don't have just a pure Republican, conservative MAGA army. We just don't. It's never been that way. We're too big a country. We can't pretend that these people are unarmed, not capable of harming anybody. But the good people don't realize how bad and how far the bad guys will go because the good guys' heads don't work that way. Terrorism can be one-sided, but it's effective. You got to remember with media, if it bleeds, it leads. We know that. All of this stuff, when it starts, when it increases, it's going to be like it's already been. Look at how they promoted all of the Tesla stuff. They love that. They even blame that on MAGA. They see what I mean? They blame everything on MAGA. It doesn't matter how obvious it is that the Dems did. They blame the Charlie Kirk assassination on MAGA, for God's sakes. They're going to confuse everything so bad when we really get into it, nobody is going to know which end is up. If it bleeds, it leads, and they are going to spin all of it. They will have inflammatory pictures, inflammatory interviews. They'll splash something that looks like blood on a woman holding two babies and say, I know it was my MAGA neighbor. He's been threatening me. I know it was him. So someone goes out and retaliates because that's what happens. It starts out, there's an attack here, an attack there. Somebody retaliates. Someone retaliates for the retaliation. And don't forget, we've got all these gangbangers that are shut down right now in a lot of these cities because the National Guard has already been in there. It's a feeding frenzy for them when that crime gets that far out of hand because it's hard to differentiate between a civil war in a neighborhood and crime in a neighborhood because they're so intertwined. It's like I was talking about in our original Civil War, there were raiding parties, typically 20 to 30 guys. Bloody Bill Anderson, Quantrell, That's how the James brothers, Jesse and Frank James, got started. They were riding around the countryside and just robbing people. They were murdering people, taking what they wanted. That will happen now in neighborhoods, except you'll have 3 or 4 guys, 3 or 4 pickup loads of people, SUVs probably, with the big 20 rims, of course. And they'll just pull up, hit a couple of houses, and go. Boom, gone. It's over before you know it. It's over before anybody can respond. People say violence never solved anything. That's one of the dumbest comments I've ever heard. That's a person that doesn't know anything about history, people, the world, government, nothing. Violence sure as hell solved Hitler, didn't it? Violence has solved every war we've ever had, including the ones where the good guys win. The good guys have to become violent to win the wars, because otherwise they're just sitting there taking attacks. So you start out with terrorism. That's when the one side is doing everything. And then when it gets out of hand and the good guys are finally forced to rise up, that's when you've got civil war. Before that, you just got terrorism and attacks. So we aren't in a civil war. People keep telling we're already in one. No, we're in a culture war right now. We're in a big political divide and a culture war. This is not civil war. Not when there's only one side doing it. You've heard about the fog of war. Have you ever heard that saying? Because everyone thinks they have a plan. It's like Mike Tyson said, what the best quote the guy ever made. Everyone has a plan until you punch them in the face. Well, once a war starts, the plans are out the window. You might plan something. The generals might plan something. Half those plans get reversed. It's the fog of war. Everything is confusion. And with the media we have today, confusion is going to be off the charts. So anytime somebody tells you that we're in a civil war, set them straight. Their head is not on straight, okay? But anybody that tells you that civil war is a joke and we just wipe them out, they're just flat stupid. You don't even know who the enemy is until they hit you a lot of times. Because they look like you, they talk like you, they work in the same places, they go to the same grocery stores, they live in the same neighborhoods. This will not be state against state. It will be the guy in the house on the corner against you, and you might not even know it. You don't know when they strike. You don't know which house has the nutcase in it. There'll be a lot of Democrats and a lot of Republicans that won't want any part of this, and they'll never act on any of it. Just like during the Civil War, there was people on both sides that just wanted to be left alone to farm. They just wanted to be left alone to live their lives in peace. Next thing you know, the armies are moving through their town, blowing shit up. Okay? That's the way it's going to be now. It doesn't take everybody being involved. It just takes a large segment of the population, a big enough segment that it throws everything out of whack for everybody else. And believe me, it certainly can. If they blow up a bridge, if they take out power substations, a power company, if they poison a water supply, it's trouble for you whether you're involved or not. It doesn't matter if you want to be peaceful. You can sit home and say, God, please make their hearts better. That doesn't work. Yes, God steps in wars. You better look and see how many years those wars go on first and how many people suffer and die before he finally decides that we've learned our lesson and it's time to step in and take over for us. So think about this, my friends. The Civil War is nothing to laugh about, and there will be foreign countries helping whoever the bad guys are here doing it. I'll guarantee you, China will do everything they can to help the Democrats once a civil war begins here. Once it gets to the point where it can be called a civil war. Like the people in Ireland in their civil war, those people still conducted their daily lives, and they died. A lot of them died. A lot of businesses, families, and lives were destroyed. We've already got the families being destroyed. The holiday season is coming. Who will not be there? Who will you not go join? Because we've already reached that point. There's already been deaths. There's already been assassinations. There's already been explosions. There's already been fires. We're creeping to the point. It's an inexorable path. And it is manifest that this reaches a conclusion. And we're not going to do it by everyone just saying, okay, we better pull back. This is getting out of hand. That's not going to happen because there are too many people ginning up both sides. Just don't get caught up in the stupidity of thinking this is going to be some fast, easy thing, and one day the conservatives are magically going to hit the street and shoot all the bad guys and it's going to be over, because that is just stupid. How many conservatives do you know that will walk down the street, drag a neighbor out of the house and shoot him in front of their kids because it's a civil war? That's what a civil war is. That's what brother against brother, neighborhood against neighborhood is. That's what the last one was. That is what every civil war in the world has become. Tell me the conservatives that will do that. The good guys don't do that. That is why the bad guys always start out winning. That is why the Democrats are winning on the violent side of it right now. And that's why they're going to continue winning the war part until the whole thing erupts. Because the bad guys don't quit. The bad guys have no compunction. They have nothing telling them don't commit violence. They know they're right. They're convinced. They recruit help. They organize and they plan and they get more violent because you are so evil they have to stop you. The good guys sit back and they don't start hunting people because they're the good guys. They do not have hostile aggression, and hostile aggression is what wins wars, and we aren't there yet. So hang on to your hats, my friends. It's going to get bumpy, and it probably has to, because these things run in cycles, and no one has ever figured out a good way to get humans to come to their senses without slapping them upside the head first. And sometimes that slap is a pretty ugly civil war. I'd really like to see that it doesn't happen, but we got 3 more years of Trump, and these people are already batshit crazy. They're not getting any better. They're getting worse. So hang on to your hats. Don't let it scare you. You know, I see people, oh my God, it's fearful, I'm scared. Well, then they talk about they're strong Christians. Well, if you're a Christian, what the hell are you scared about? These things come and go in time. They come and go in history. They come and go in life. None of us are going to live forever anyway. So don't freak out about it too much. Bad times come and go. Some days you're the windshield. Some days you're the bug. It's like my grandmother told me about the World War. She said, oh, they're terrible things. You know, millions and millions of people die. But most people live through it. She was right. Yeah, there's some cleanup to do afterwards. There's a lot of heartache. A lot of families destroyed. But people do survive. Unfortunately, a lot of people just don't realize what it all means right now. So when you get your chance to talk to friends about it, please share this with them. Share what you've learned about it. Because we got to get this right, my friends. And if we do, then maybe God will continue to bless this great country of ours. Thanks for listening.